Very good evening to you and a happy new year. Happy 2026 to every listener. Go ahead, like, subscribe. You are listening to the Football Pitch live on YouTube. As I say, go ahead, like, subscribe. Tell all your pals, tell your mates, tell your granny, get your budget to subscribe. It does help us out. As I say, you're listening to the Football Pitch after our 2-week festivity. Still got my festivity break going on. After our 2-week break for the festivities, football did not stop. There's been managerial changes at Kilmarnock, at Aberdeen, at Celtic again, at Manchester United, at Chelsea. Who knows? Could Spurs be the next one? And we have the least mundane title race in Scotland that we've had for a number of years. So we've got so much to talk about. And I'm joined by globetrotting Dennis Newell, who's come back. Not feeling very well, but he's going to muddle through tonight. Good evening, Dennis. And good evening to Graham Duffy, Hearts supporter. Hearts are still top of the league.
Good evening to you, Graham. Happy New Year. And you, Cammy. Yeah, I've had a chest infection since just after Christmas. It's coming to the end of it. Not a great holiday to go away and find that you're coughing and spluttering all over the place, but I'm getting there. There's worse people than me. So, yes, snow. We've got snow. I've not seen snow for a wee while. And we're meant to get more of it. And I'm sure that on the back of that, it doesn't matter about the weather other than the fact how many games are going to maybe be off at the weekend. That, I think, is something that's obviously what we get at this time of the year. And not knowing when it will happen. That'll be the thing.
Indeed. Yep. And not knowing, Graham, how long Hearts are going to stay top of the league. Let's get that one done out there. I'm saying get it done out the road first. You must have been gutted losing to Hibs 3-2, but then Celtic go and mess up as well at Ibrox. Brings Rangers into the title race. As I've said, we now have the least mundane or the most exciting title race we've had in Scotland for a number of years, a 3-horse race.
Yeah, I mean, what a Christmas and New Year that I've had. Hearts still top of the league. I've heard for months we won't be top in October. We won't be top in November. We won't be top in December. And look, we're still here. I'm loving this. Yeah, I'm not going to... The Derby defeat was awful. We played until the last 20 minutes when we were 3-0 down. We could have got a draw in that. But we are still top, and I'm still buzzing with this. Because, to be honest, I expected us to fall away. So I am more than happy with it. Defence in the window as well. We've got Jordan Altena, the right back. They brought in Islam Chesnikov. I am so buzzing for this because I've seen this guy play and I think he's going to add real quality. And I'm probably now going to make myself look a right idiot if he doesn't play well. But I'm so happy. It's been a fantastic title race so far. Only 3 points clear now. Winnable game on Sunday against Dundee if the game's on, of course. But yeah, I'm loving life as a Hearts fan just now. It's been superb.
Yeah. Dundee have been playing well, Graham. And who did you say that new signing you've got? Dennis Chesnikov, did you say?
No, Islam Chesnikov. I'm buzzing for this. I'm buzzing for this.
Yeah, indeed. Dennis, you go away to Dubai, you come back, and Hearts are still top. Graham's still buzzing. Yeah. And as I say, we have an exciting title race in Scotland.
Without a doubt. And I keep repeating it. And I often wonder, is it the kiss of death? It can't be now because they're staying there that long. That I still think Hearts will win the league. I think the poor showings of both the Old Firm have been appalling, to say the least. But it needs somebody to go ahead and win this and actually show them up for what they are this season. And Hearts are, I think, very well equipped. They've stuttered in a few games. I've watched them. But having said that, you're never going to have a clean run. No, when you've not got the capacity that the Old Firm have, and that is the money power. You're always going to have slight deficiencies in your team, and that will then create the occasional hiccup. And you'll have hiccups. It'll not be an easy run in, but you're adding to your team as well, Graham. And I think that's important. That if you don't add to the team, the Old Firm will catch you up. There's no question of doubt about it. And I think in the buying power and the vision that Hearts have got, excels itself in relation to how the other two have done their business. And that is the difference, to be honest, this season. Celtic's business and Rangers' business have been shambolic, whereas Hearts have not. They've been very, very good, and it's proven itself with the results and the performances on the pitch. and they've got to be applauded for it, And Graham, you'll be on here many a week from now to the end of the season, still singing the praises of the club, because the Old Firm, it'll be a miracle if they catch you up. And as I say, it'll only be a matter of Hearts maybe losing the sight of what they've got to do, and that's where we'll see if the managers really get the qualities that's needed, because he's got to keep them the straight and narrow here. He's got to keep them fired up. Every time you get into that dressing room, he should be pulling them off the ceiling with enthusiasm for getting out in the park. If they lose that, they'll lose points, and that's where the big two will come after you. But I still think that Hearts' performances, I know you're saying there's only 3 points in it, but you've got a game in hand. Well, who's that game in hand to?
We've got St Mirren next Wednesday at Tynecastle.
Right, okay. So if you can catch that result and put it to bed, then you've got another 3 points. So you're 6 points ahead of the Old Firm, or certainly in front of Rangers. But, you can't ask, I don't think, at this moment in time, any more from the Hearts camp. Just a couple of signings in, and I think it'll keep you going for now to the end of the season.
I genuinely think, and I said this on TikTok 2 weeks ago, I genuinely think the title could be won in this transfer window. Whoever does the best business, I think it's got a chance of winning this week. And so far, Hearts have added very well. We're looking to try and get another 2 players potentially in. We've got another winger hopefully coming in, maybe another defender, I don't know. But I genuinely think January is a massive, massive month. If we come out of this with a decent window, then I think we've got a very good chance. I'm not going to say we're going to win it, because I've always said I don't think we will. But I think January is massive. I really think it's huge.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there's Sandy, who obviously basically started the United supporter. His team obviously really started the Celtic downfall, I think, of the last Celtic downfall, shall we say, when they won 2-1 over Celtic in midweek that week a few weeks ago, when Celtic scored first. But Nonsi, with his typical managerial lack of awareness, I think is probably a nice way of putting it. Couldn't get a result against the United, a Celtic side who in the first half could have been 3 or 4 clear. Just couldn't hold on to a lead, and that was his big problem. He definitely shouldn't have been a dog walker, that's for sure, because his Celtic side couldn't hold on to a lead. So there's Sandy basically reckoning that Celtic will get beat tomorrow, doing Hearts a turn, and as doing Rangers a turn as well, So that's a big game there at Celtic Park tomorrow, and that's a game which I think will be on. I can't see that game not being on. The only problem could well be the United travelling. But I don't think the weather's half as bad as what it's been projected to be, guys. So I think there'll be a few more games on than what we think tomorrow.
Yeah, there's certain areas that obviously the snow has come down, and you look at it up in the northeast, Aberdeen, places like that, it's been captured with it. But again, when you look at Premier League matches, you would expect the conditions would really, really need to be bad. I know on Sunday, Aberdeen have got Rangers at home. So the only thing and I know, and I've seen in the weather, and it's looking as if Sunday morning early, we could be hit with snow in that neck of the woods, all the way going up. And that would be the problem maybe for supporters travelling, could be an element there that would stop that match. So although we can say, just now when I look at the window, there's probably about 3/4 of an inch of snow there. It's not going to stop a football match, but for the next 24 hours, I don't think it'll be too heavy, but overnight and Saturday for the Sunday matches that we're looking at, Dundee as well, it could be a casualty. You don't know. We never know in Scotland, because that's the thing. But I think the safety of the supporters is relevant. And the Aberdeen game could be a difficult one to maybe call.
I mean, how well the local councils and everything else does in treating the roads, I think they have to be commended for that. Do they hell? I was in Aberdeen. You were in Dubai last week. I was in Aberdeen last week. And had I not left Aberdeen when I did, I'd probably still be there just now. We left in the morning at 2nd. And as I say, I think had we not left then, I'd probably still be stuck up there, because I've been getting weather reports quite continually for how bad the weather is up there, And I know it sounds like we're doing a meteorological office job here, but is that the weather is going to be the big deciding factor this week, I think. But as things stand, I don't think the Saturday fixtures are going to be half half as bad as what we think they are. I've not heard any reports about the Ross County Thistle game being off tonight. Obviously, maybe you guys can correct me on that or not.
No, that is on. That is on.
It is on. So, I mean, you're getting games in Dingwall. I'm quite sure. Again, obviously, the opposite coast for Aberdeen, you know. But at the end of the day, if that game's on, I think a lot of games will be on tomorrow, you know. And certainly, Celtic, the United should be a game that's on this week. Hugh Toners obviously says they're Tribune and Lanark. I don't know if that's anything to do with the weather, Shug, or not, you know. But obviously, we know what Lanark's like. So, anyway.
There's patches of it. There's patches of it. I don't know. I think, Graham, your neck of the woods will be fairly easy at this moment in time to drive around in, is it not?
We had a white out earlier on today. It was chucking it down with snow, and it's white now where I am.
All right, okay. So it's patchy. That's the thing. I don't think it's a blanket. We are getting the patchy, so we just need to wait and see, you know.
Yeah.
As I say, they do take into account now a bit more of the supporters travelling, which I think is wise because it can be lethal. But anyway, we'll just wait and see how many of these games are on or off.
Games in our top league tomorrow are obviously all 3 o'clock kickoffs. Celtic against Dundee United, Motherwell travelling through to Hibs. You get Livingston against Kilmarnock, St Mirren against Falkirk, which promises for me to be a really good game. I think that should be a good game through and through. Dropping down the tables, we've got Ayr United against Airdrie, Morton at home Fairland, Queen's Park against St Johnstone, and Wraith Rovers are at home. Drop into League One, Alloa Athletic against Montrose, Cove Rangers against Cali Thistle, Peterhead against Hamilton, Queen of the South against Kelty Hearts, and Steny against East Fife. And when we drop into League Two, there's only one game that's definitely off at the moment. That's at Annan Athletic against Elgin City. Now, I would imagine that's maybe something to do with Elgin travelling down. They've called that off early. I certainly hope so, because I've got friends actually coming up through the borders and that in Dumfries and Galloway just now, so I hope they get through okay. Then we've got Dumbarton against Clyde, East Kilbride against Spartans, Edinburgh City against Stirling Albion, and Forfar against Stranraer. And then, as you mentioned on Sunday, Dundee Hearts, Aberdeen Rangers. Now, the way things are up in Aberdeen, that could be a casualty, as you say, Dennis. Graham, at the end of the day, all you're concerning yourself with just now, you're not worrying about the weather, you're not worrying about anything else. All you're concerning yourself with is that Hearts keep winning and push on towards challenging for that title. And really, as I say, I think you're right. I think we know the business that Hearts are going to be doing in the transfer window. You know, pretty much a lot of it's done. You've got your business done early. You're a guy come in, I think, over the New Year period who you'd already previously signed. So you've already got your business done. Celtic don't look as if they're doing anything other than Dennis trying to bring in Kyogo. And Rangers are talking big, but there's no sign of any activity yet at Ibrox. And we're 9 days into the new year. We're 9 days into the transfer window. Hearts, to me, look to be the only side with any intent to do anything, Graham.
Yeah, and I think as well, we're also building for next season, because we're going to get Josh McPake from St Johnstone in the summer. We've already tied up Stuart Finlay for next season. We've got Craig Halkett on a new deal. We're doing a lot of good business. And I do think that we don't need to do a lot. Like, we've got a lot of really good players already. We don't need to do a lot in this window. There's maybe just a couple of little bits of quality we can add, i.e. Islam Chesnikov, who I've actually seen. And I think he's going to be quality. But yeah, I mean, all we can do is win. That's all we can do. We can't focus on anything else other than keep going. We've got 18 games to go. And I think, I've said it previously, I think most Hearts fans have kind of said we won't win the league. But there does probably come a certain point, whether it gets to like, I don't know, end of March, start of April, if we're still in a position where we actually have to think, do you know what, actually Hearts could really do this? But all we can do is keep winning. The Livingston game last week, I thought we were really, really good first half. Could have had that game wrapped up by half time by 3 or 4. Second half, we came off a little bit, and I think you could sense some nervousness around the team and around the fans, because folk were a bit nervous, which is understandable. I think I was critical on my own TikTok page about the second half, but then I thought about it and thought, actually, I understand why that's happened, because we're not used to this position. We're 1-0 up. We're trying to go for a league title. It is difficult. But to be fair, I think Derek McInnes, in every press conference, I love the calmness he's got. He just keeps things very, very calm. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. And I think you can see that with the players as well. Like, they walked off the pitch last week, obviously delighted with the win. we now got a difficult game. Dundee have won the last 3 games are on a decent run, but Hearts just now, we've got a very good side. We're the top scorers in the league. We're looking very good going forward. We're getting goals in defence. I just think going to Dundee, if we can win that game, it'll be huge, especially with the fact we've got 3 home games after that. St Mirren on Wednesday, we've then got Falkirk in the Cup, and then Celtic at Tynecastle. Big games coming up. But you know what? I actually think Lauren Shanklin said this 2 weeks ago. The pressure was last season when we were relegation trouble. This is a very different type of pressure. We're not used to it. But I just think, I said it weeks ago, this is something that you've got to enjoy as a Hearts fan. Because last season, going back to last season, we were awful last season. We were looking at relegation. I never thought that was going to happen. But now we're looking at potentially challenge for a title. And it's a different type of pressure, and I'm loving it. And if we can keep on winning, it doesn't matter what Rangers and Celtic do. But the one thing I would say, the one thing that it concerns me a little bit, but the fact is that the last couple of days it's been rumoured that Rangers are going to spend about £7 million on 2 players. Hearts can't do that. Hearts can't do that. But our recruitment has been absolutely fantastic. And I say it all the time, recruitment is massive. You ain't going to get every signing right. That's not going to happen. But our recruitment has been superb. You look at Celtic. They've tried to get Kyogo back. Now, by all accounts, that's not going to happen. Where do they go now? We are just doing things properly. We're doing things right. And hopefully that continues. We can't worry about the old firm. Yes, they will get better, but all we can do is keep on winning. If we keep winning games, we can't be caught.
No. It's going to take Rangers more than 2 players to correct all the deficiencies at Ibrox. You know, I think the one thing Rangers have got is they've got a manager who has a style of play, who knows what he wants to do, who can make changes if necessary. He showed that against Celtic last week. You know, he can change things if things aren't working. And I think Rangers at last seem to have got the managerial appointment right. But it's going to take a lot longer, I think, to get the squad right. So you've got a good shout against Rangers. When it comes to Celtic, their secret weapon, if you like, or what could turn it for them is obviously Martin O'Neill. You know, Nonsi was a great appointment for Hearts and Rangers. You know, but that's the one thing is Martin O'Neill's been over the course. A lot of that Celtic squad, Celtic players have been over the course. You know, so they've won league titles, they've won trophies, which is something that Hearts nor Rangers have really done. You know, but let's think back a few years. Leicester City were exactly the same. They hadn't won titles. They hadn't won anything at all. And then obviously Ranieri lifted the league for them when they caught lightning in a bottle because they got the rest of the teams around them, the Spurs and Cities, they fell in their arse. And to my mind, Hearts can be this season's Leicester City, you know, in terms of no expectations at the start of the season. Even now, the majority of fans would love to see Hearts, the majority of non-Old Firm fans would love to see Hearts go on and lift the title. But the expectation is that Rangers or Celtic will come good and lift the title over. But to my mind, there's nothing there to stop Hearts pushing on because I don't think either of the other two have got the depth of squad that you seem to have at Tynecastle, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, there is a confidence through this team. Like, we've got a lot of players that were there last season that weren't great. But Derek McInnes is trying to change the mindset. I speak about mindset a lot, but he's changed the mentality. Like, players that last season I thought were miles off it in terms of work rate, I don't see that now. Every player works their socks off. There's a solid mentality in that team. The Hibs game, as I said, was really poor. I thought we were terrible in that first 70 minutes. Then we could have got a draw. But there's a real mentality about this team. And the signings, like I said, have been fantastic. Cledo Braga's got 11 goals this season. Kithridis has got about 5 goals and about 10 assists. He's been outstanding. The new right back comes in last week. He's got an assist already. The squad is fantastic. I've said this so many times. I've said a lot of folk outside the Hearts in our Hearts squad depth. You clearly don't realise that Hearts team is very, very strong. We've got a very, very strong team and a very strong squad. Like our bench at times is just as good as our starting 11, which a lot of folk don't seem to realise. We could basically field 2 teams, and we probably will because we've got a squad of 31. So I think recruitment's been fantastic. But again, I come back to the point I've made so many times. For me, the biggest thing is Derek McInnes. He's been superb. He knows the Scottish game. He's getting the best out of these players. As I say, recruitment's been fantastic. Lawrence Shankland has been like a different player this season. He's our top goal scorer again, and he just looks a different player. With players often that have got football intelligence, the likes of Braga and Kizridis. We've now added to that with Chesnikov. Yeah. You know, I look at Celtic Rangers and think, yeah, okay, they do have players over the course. You know, the Nancy appointment was an absolute disaster. It was an absolute disaster. I do feel sorry for him slightly, because there was some games I actually think Celtic play well, but they don't have a goal scorer. Like, you can't rely on Johnny Kenny. Nope. But Hearts have gone about the business really diligently. We've got the signings in. We will strengthen further. And as I said, I don't think at the start of the season any Hearts fan expected this. I didn't. And most Hearts fans I spoke to, most realistic Hearts fans, have said, we won't win the league. But do you know what? We're up there.
Still at the back of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I have constantly said I don't think Hearts win the league, and folk have said to me, when will you start believing? If we're in this position, end of March, start of April, then I might start believing. But the one thing I will say, and I'm not going to shy away from, we're in a title race. Yeah. Like, we're 100% in a title race.
100%, yeah. Exactly. And Dennis, as I say, they're still there. You know, the Graham says October it's going to fall away. November it's going to fall away. Christmas it's going to fall away. We're now going into the second week in January, and Hearts are still top. And irrespective of what happens over the weekend, Hearts are going to be top. You know, so in my mind, everybody's very critical of Scottish football, us included. But we've got Hearts playing good football. We've got Hibs at time playing good football. Motherwell look a revelation. You know, Shug's on there saying, talking about O'Donnell, the difference in O'Donnell as a player, you know, from last season to this. You know, Motherwell have been playing some absolutely fantastic football. We've got St Mirren have gone on and lifted a trophy. You know, so we're very, very critical of our game up here. But we really need to reserve that criticism for the Old Firm, because there's a lot of other clubs, as I say, Hearts, St Mirren, Motherwell, playing decent football, Hibs as well, you know, playing some decent football. Okay, we've had managerial changes at Rugby Park, we've had managerial changes at Pittodrie. But the Scottish game is not necessarily in the shit streets that we've been saying for a long time, because there is a lot of sides playing some good football.
I think the downfall of the Old Firm has created that. The reason being, there's not the fear factor of the Motherwells, the Hearts, the Hibs, the rest of the Premier League. They've no fear against them anymore. Now, that lifts every club. When you know that you're coming up against the Old Firm and you're not counting in any points, or you're not looking at getting anything out of a game, right away you've written that off. And points are so valuable in the Premier League. The now clubs can go to either Parkhead or Ibrox and think, we can get something from this. And I think that is a bonus in itself, that it's a level playing field as a Premier League now, rather than the big two miles ahead, the rest picking up the scraps. The days are gone, certainly this season. And the way the club's been run, that, you know, it's not a burst exhaust they've got now. It's a whole system that needs changed. And that is going to take a while. So therefore, while it's burst at this moment in time, I think that the teams like Hearts, Hibs, the rest of the Premier League that's making a challenge, with the exception, obviously, the two at the bottom of Kilmarnock and Livingston, the rest of the team is in there with a shout for to try and get in that top six. And there's nothing to stop them. So, you know, and you know, as Shu says there, O'Donnell, I watched him delivering a couple of balls into the box that were delightful as a treat for somebody going the end of it last week. Now, if we look at O'Donnell, I liked O'Donnell when he was at Kilmarnock, and then he's ended up at Motherwell because he never got a move that he thought he should have. And he struggled a bit. But when you look at him and think, could he play in the Scotland jersey? I thought he was poor in the Scotland jersey because he was one of the manager's pals. But when I look at Scotland and I see that Ralston's in there playing on a regular basis, then I've got to say O'Donnell's got to be in with a shout as well if he keeps playing at that level. So, I mean, it's maybe jumping the gun a bit to say he's had a couple of decent games with Motherwell, but it's showing you now that people can still play well in the Premier League. And I think it's the opening because there's more confidence in these players because the old firms dropped dramatically. So there's a level playing field out there. And at this moment in Hearts, I've got the edge. There's no doubt about it. They're definitely the best team and in form. But as you rightly say, Cammy, you've got the Motherwells and the Hibs tracking there behind it. And, you know, the surprise package in among that's Falkirk as well. They're sitting in the top half of the league. So we've got a Premier League at this moment in time that, to me, is attractive enough, but we lack consistency. If you go and you look at the English Premiership, there is a massive gulf between the standard of play that we have and they have. But that's money-driven, where they're picking the best from all over the world, and they're spending on one player more than two Premier League teams could ever dream of in a full season. So you would expect the standard to be better. But I would also like to think that people should start looking more homegrown talent. And I'm going to just drift away for a little bit here and say we should have our own league structure, that you've got to have more of these youngsters coming through. Because at this moment in time, I don't know what we're doing at Lennoxtown and Murray Park. They're just a waste of time because nothing's coming through and you see the standard of it. Now, you at Hearts, I know you have brought through quite a lot of youngsters, Graham, and that's been refreshing. I don't think Celtic and Rangers have had that ability to bring players through from the youth. And I think that's important for the future and the way we're going. But certainly, just going back to the initial thing, how is it for players like O'Donnell? Yeah, experiences, you can't substitute anything for experience either, as well as bringing a youngster in beside them.
Yeah. I think what you've seen now as well, and I've noticed it more and more over the last few months, the amount of folk in England that are talking about Scottish football now because Hearts are top of the league.
Yeah,
it's been a very, very welcome change. The last time I saw this was actually, ironically, when Hearts were top in 2005, 2006. But when the amount of things I go on TikTok and I see an English football fan talk about the Scottish League, it's very, very different to what it was in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, when we see it even on, like, say, our group chats, you know, when you've got Andy Burrows on there, you know, it's slaughtering Scottish football, but he's slaughtering Scottish football because Rangers and Celtic are garbage. You know, as he said, that's his thing, you know. And I mean, Andy's very tongue-in-cheek with that, you know. But again, it's getting folk talking. Even the fact that it's getting mentioned in our group chat, you know, about what's happening up here is a good thing, you know. And as you say, it's been noticed even further afield, you know, and that again is good for the game, you know. So we've always said Scottish football maybe not necessarily thrive, but it could certainly survive in either of the old firm, you know. And I think a lot of times it would be better for it because it would take a lot of the bile and the poison out of the game, you know, without Rangers and Celtic.
Well, I'll tell you something. I would rather watch a Scottish football game than watch that dross that was served up in the Premiership last night between Arsenal and Liverpool.
Yeah,
there is some bad games. There is some bad games, yeah.
But then again, the night before, you'd sit there and throw when Newcastle leads.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
you can pick and choose there. There's definitely more quality in the Premier League because, one, there's more money, there's more clubs as well. So, you know, you look at it, you say to yourself, if you pick and choose what game, you will have the occasional match like you were talking about last night where you think, well, that's going to be a good match and it's just rubbish. So you will be presented with that. The same as up here. But if you ask me, what would I rather watch? Would it be Arsenal and Liverpool or would I watch Kilmarnock and Livingston? It's a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. So, you know, I think as well, you look at some of your stadiums and they look so run down when you see there's a massive gulf, Graham. And we have to just accept the zone we're in now is so far adrift from the English Premiership because of the investment and the money it's been ploughed into it. We'll never bridge that gap. What we have to do is make the product that we've got more attractive with homegrown players and look at what you're bringing in from the directors of football or whatever you want to call them. They are actually better at their job than what they're doing down south so that we get good value for money.
What we need to do is market our game much, much better.
Yes.
I mean, listen, as both of you know, my hours don't allow me to sit up late and watch games. You know, so I tend, as you both know, to watch a lot of the highlight packages on YouTube in the morning while I'm getting ready for work or while I'm in the gym or whatever, you know. So I'm on YouTube watching it then. Our game highlights are sat there. They look as if there's somebody who's just basically sat there and thought, right, okay, let's pull a few highlights here, and that's it. There's no commentary, there's no build-up, there's absolutely nothing. You look at the games that are marketed again, like Sky for the English Premier League, even for the English Championship and things like that, where they've taken the commentary from Sky or the commentary forever. So they're getting marketed and sold even better on these short 2-minute, 3-minute highlights.
Cammy, women's football has a better profile in England than our Premiership does.
Yeah.
The Premiership in England of the women's game is better, has better promotion than we have up here in the men's game. You just need to see it. I mean, they've even got the pre-match and everything else that goes on with it. We don't have that. If it is, it's a bit limited and it's selected. I mean, sometimes you've really got to scour what actual games are available for us to watch up here in the Scottish games. Otherwise, you have to pay an extra dividend to get it on some of these channels. And there's some matches that are not even available on the channels. Unless you look at, say, if it's a Celtic and Rangers game, it would be Celtic TV or Rangers TV. And that's wrong. But as you say, it's not packaged properly. And I don't think that, without ranting on too much about it, that the people we've got running our game help it. You know? I mean, sure, he's put on there, the marketing should be put in the hands of Eddie Hearn. That's not a bad shout, to be honest, because these are real businessmen. But with the SFA or the Scottish League or people like that want in, absolutely no chance. No.
I've got to be in my bonnet about something that Sky do, but I won't go into that. But the one thing that frustrates me most is the fact that I keep people say, oh, Hearts are on the top because Celtic Rangers have been poor. I couldn't care less.
Oh, like
we've had 40 years of Celtic Rangers dominating the league. The minute somebody else actually does well, it's, oh, they're only good because Celtic Rangers are terrible. I couldn't give a monkey's how bad they're doing. As long as Hearts are top and doing well, I couldn't care less.
But Hearts are playing. It's no matter of Hearts being lucky, Graham. Hearts are playing better than the old firm by a mile. By a mile. I often look at it now, and a year ago you'd never have said that. How many of the Celtic and Rangers team we get in the Hearts team? There's very few. And you've never dreamt of saying that a year ago. Never mind now. So Celtic and Rangers have not just fell into the gutter. They've gone beyond that at this moment in time. And it's riddled for the top of the club right down onto the playing side. Now, there's good people at these clubs, don't get me wrong, but their management, if they were in business anywhere else out in the world, they'd both be liquidated. There's no question of doubt about it.
Yeah.
Whereas Hearts have got their business in order, they're playing good football, and they deserve to be where they are. And that's what people have got to remember. Hearts are not there by default. Hearts are there because they merited it. And they'll win the league in my head because they deserve it. And the people that are running behind them, whether it's the old firm or not, I know, as you rightly say, it doesn't give it one iota. It's who's playing best and who can grind out the results between now and the end of the season deserves to win the league. And I think Hearts have got that.
The turnaround at Hearts, irrespective of what's happening anywhere else, the turnaround at Hearts has been nothing short of commendable. So where you were many times, Graham, and many times tonight, the turnaround at Hearts from where you were last season fighting relegation to sitting top of the Premier League with one managerial change, and obviously Tony Bloom getting a wee bit more involved in terms of the Jamestown analytics and things like that. You know, the Hearts fully deserve to be sat where they are, 100%. You know, and anything even we're saying tonight, you know, in terms of Hearts, they don't have a better chance because Rangers and Celtic are garbage. That does slightly ring true, but you still got to beat what's in front of you, and you beat both of them twice, so you fully deserve to be in that league.
It's funny how football works, because start of the season, I did a TikTok live, and somebody asked me what I thought Hearts would do this season, what my prediction was, and I said third. And folk laughed and said, oh, how can you say that when you finished bottom six last season? And then the longer it goes on, it's like, do you think Hearts will win the league? And I've said no. And if I did say yes, they go, oh, how can you think that? It's like, you can't win either way. The fact is, yes, I said it before, Hearts were terrible last season. I said that numerous times last season. I did so many videos on it. But this season, it has been a complete change. And I think right. To be fair, some rival fans have actually said, "Look, I hope you win it," and some rival fans have said you won't win it, and that's fine. It's rivalry. I get that, but surely for the Scottish game, it is actually better for somebody else to actually win it rather than Celtic Rangers win all the time. I just think it's better for the Scottish game if somebody else actually goes and wins it.
But wait a minute, is it really though? Because here's what we were looking at. If we had two teams, whether it is Kilmarnock, Dundee United, and they are playing exceptional football, right? That's who I want to see winning the league. Doesn't matter about the Old Firm. The Old Firm, because historically they've had the money, they've had the power, and they've got the massive support and everything else that goes with it. That's why they have been at the top. But for me, if Dundee United, forget about Hearts now, or St Mirren or whatever, are playing really good, attractive football, that will encourage not just the teams that they're playing against to come along and support it. It will be better for everyone. So I don't care whether it's the Old Firm. I only care that the standard is raised to have a good Premier League. Rangers and Celtic have allowed other people to come in the back door, if you want to call it that, because of their mismanagement of the clubs. Both of them, at the same time, have gone down the toilet and they've got a massive way to come back before they can compete against the likes of the Hearts or the Motherwells in this world, because they're miles away. They really are. I mean, you just need to look through that team list that Celtic have got at this moment in time. Now, if you look at it and just drifting slightly away from the conversation, Kyogo coming back to Celtic. Are you telling me, as much as I've been an advocate for rattling my gums a long time about this, that they should never have sold them, right? Because they lost out on £40 million on not qualifying for the Champions League because they had nobody to finish for them. And they sold him for 10, 12 million or whatever because they thought he was getting old. And then they go and try and buy him back. In the world we live in, and the way that we have got people looking throughout the world for players, surely that's got to be a terrible move to try and bring that boy back when they wanted rid of him. So you look at it and you say to yourself, wait a minute, whether he wanted away, whether he wanted, the boy left. Now he said he's not coming back. But is that the only people that we can tap into in Scotland? And I use it collectively because we are all in the same goldfish bowl. Is that all that Celtic, as an example, can tap into to try and bring a player back when you've got millions of people out there that can do a job, and yet nobody can identify one?
It's funny you say that, Dennis, because I saw a Celtic fan a couple of days ago saying that they got rid of Kyogo, Tierney, and Jota. They've already brought Tierney and Jota back, and they're trying to bring Kyogo back.
Aye. Well, again, I often and I question that as well, because Kearney has not been the player that he was when he left. And I've watched Kyogo in the last couple of Birmingham games that I've been on the TV, and Dykes was playing up front with him as well. And he was still working hard, but he didn't look as clinical. And I'm thinking, if you come back, you're not any better than Kearney was. Kearney's come back, and I'm just thinking he's a shadow of the player that went down south.
Yeah.
You know, so in my eyes, with what's happening just now is how limited are these people at Parkhead that have to look at a player that's been there and try and bring, if they get nothing else up their sleeve that they can bring in. I think it's absolutely appalling.
How limited your scouting and how limited is your ability to produce any talent at all, through down or through whatever else, But before we get too critical of Scottish, we'll put an end to what we're looking at in the game, and we'll cast our eyes down south. I say there's a few managerial changes down there, but the results, for anybody who hasn't caught the results this year, obviously, if you've been busy, if you've been in Dubai or snowed in Aberdeen or wherever else. So on Tuesday night, Rangers beat Aberdeen 2-0 to basically move second. And last Saturday, the results were Celtic 1, Celtic 1, Rangers 3, Dundee United 0, Dundee 1, Dundee winning their third game in a bounce. Falkirk, who, as I say, we've been a revelation this season, 1, Aberdeen 0. Jimmy Thielman's last game in charge. Hearts 1, Livingston 0. Hearts grinding out results, Graham. If you're not getting performances, you can still get results. Killie 1, Hibs 3, Motherwell 2, St Mirren 0. In the Championship last Saturday, it was Airdrie 0, Wraith 0. Partick Thistle, who were 2 goals down at one time, 3, Morton 2. and St Johnstone just keep winning 1-0 against Arbroath. League 1, Kelty Hearts 1, Alloa 1, Steny 2, Queen of the South 0. And in League 2, Clyde 1, Forfar 1, Spartans 2, Dumbarton 0, and Stranraer 1, Edinburgh City 1. I think there was a few teams off in the lower leagues due to obviously conditions. But as I say, that's the way things are in Scotland just now. And as I say, we've got Hearts top of the Premier League, with Rangers second, and Celtic having dropped to third. So that's taking over a side sitting third in the Premier League. But we look down south, to England, as I say, there's been a few managerial changes as well over the last couple of weeks. Enzo Maresca decided he'd had enough at Chelsea and jumped ship before he was unceremoniously sacked, by the sounds of things. Well done, Enzo Maresca, basically saying stuff you's all, I'm getting to hell out of here. And Man United, they get in just before Ruben Amorim did the self-same thing. And Manchester United sitting sixth in the table is binned by Manchester United. So a couple of changes here at the top of clubs down south. The Chelsea one, I commend Enzo Maresca for getting out. You know, I really do. There was murmurings apparently in the press and things like that, that things, the board, etc., weren't happy. I don't know what Chelsea want. He won them 2 trophies last season, didn't he? The FA, one of the cups. Did they win a cup last? I know they won obviously that European trophy, but he certainly got them there anyway. And I don't think Chelsea have looked bad this season. Yeah, they've been in and out in games, but they've got the same problem I think a lot of clubs have got, in as much as they can't score goals. At Manchester United, Ruben Amorim's got them sixth in the league, Graham. A Liverpool fan, you must be rubbing your hands with glee at that one, or maybe not. But I don't necessarily think Manchester United did the right thing by getting rid of Amorim. I've said all of last season, I thought he was a decent appointment. And I think he started to turn things around at Old Trafford, Graham.
He wasn't sacked because of the results. He was sacked because he basically called out the board and the mismanagement. I don't think he didn't really have the players to play the style he wanted. And a lot of managers don't do that anyway. I do feel a bit sorry for him because he did win a trophy at Man United, but it wasn't really working. I don't think the signings that he made were particularly great. I don't think Sesko's been fantastic, but they are just run so badly. I mean, they're such a poorly run club. Yes, as Liverpool fan, I'm loving the fact we're above them, but Liverpool have not been great this season. But what for me is embarrassing for Man United is the fact that they sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They sacked him because he wasn't good enough, and they're going to bring him back. I'm sorry, but what is that about? That is an absolute embarrassment if you're a Man United fan. Why would you bring back a guy that was basically running the club because he wasn't good enough? They are so poorly run. And I think what Amorim said about the board and stuff about Jason Wilcox, he was right. Results, yes, haven't been great, but he was sacked for calling them out. But seriously, and again, I listened to Darren Fletcher, and he's talking about, like, you know, I went to Alex Ferguson for advice. Okay, Alex Ferguson, one of the best managers ever in football. Fantastic. But see, you're your own man. Why are you going back to Alex Ferguson? I don't get it. But seriously, bringing Ole Solskjaer back, I think, is an absolute embarrassment. And it goes to show how poorly run they actually are.
Yeah. Dennis.
But this is what you're seeing all over the place. Look, if you drink tea, do you sit there and wait till your last tea bag has went in the cup before you go and get another bag? This is what seems to be happening with all these clubs. These board of directors are milking it dry. They're sitting there, and their contribution to some of these clubs is nothing but a disgrace. They are not sitting around the boardroom table and thinking ahead of what they have to do. So when the chips start to fall down, managers are then in the firing line and out the door. They just don't seem to be looking ahead with a 5-year plan that's in place and saying, right, okay, who have we identified for this stage, this stage, this stage? It doesn't seem to be happening. That's why we talked about Kyogo. They've nothing in the pipeline. They've nothing in reserve. They're playing the boy Kenny up front. There's got to be somebody over at Lennox and in the youth team now that's going, I want out of this club because I'm never going to get a kick of the ball here playing up front. And you look at Man United, the same thing. They're looking at bringing Solskjaer back, which is the same. If they not got any contingency plan whenever anything goes wrong,
Yeah,
Honestly, if they're running that like business, they need to be put up against a wall and shot for their mismanagement in these clubs. They're not just alone in picking out Man United and Celtic. It's riddled with it in the football games. So, I'm really fed up with looking at clubs that are quite willing to sit there on their ego trip, looking for attention at how good they are. And when things start to go wrong, right, pull the manager out, slaughter him. Honestly, it is disgraceful the way that these clubs are being operated. I wonder how many of these directors, and we'll just use Celtic as an example, are working their socks off from Monday to Sunday or whatever day you want to look at it, 7 days a week, as it should be, to help the supporters get a good quality team on the pitch by making sure they've got the right manager and the right players. I don't think they are. I think it's sitting there with the rugs on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday and just enjoying the game without really having any input. Otherwise, we wouldn't see the state of affairs that Man United's got as an example, or the teams we're just talking about in Scotland. So, I just think it's shocking. I really do. And they seem to be getting away with it because they're faceless. You don't see them. They're not on the front line. The directors of football appointments in some of these clubs are nothing short of amazing in relation to what other walk of life would they get a job in. They just seem to come in there and recommend players that are costing multi-millions of pounds and getting away with it. You look at what was bought in at Ibrox, and they two just walk out the door. Honestly, they should be taking to court for misspending money, and that doesn't seem to happen. But the clubs are at fault for making these appointments, and that's where I question that all of these board of directors, what are they really at these clubs for? Are they there to add of some value to the club, or are they there for an ego trip?
Graham?
I think a big part of the problem is a lot of these folk at the football clubs, the board of directors, are not actually football people. They're business people. They're not football people. They don't understand how football works. And I think that's a big part of the problem for me.
Yep.
Yeah, but why are they there, Graham? That's the point. Is it an ego trip? What are they doing there? Is it so they can say, I rub shoulders with him? I mean, that's attention seeking. We've got that with kids nowadays that can't walk down the street without taking a picture of themselves.
I don't
the world
think
is full of attention seeking, and we need to stamp that out. And that's what some of these directors are about. They need to grow up and realise it's a job of work running a football club. And people will say, well, I work hard. But there's working hard and there's working hard. You give a guy a shovel and you tell him to dig a hole. If he doesn't dig it in the right place, what's the point of giving him a shovel? And that's what I think some of these directors are about. They just don't know where to dig the hole.
Yeah.
No, it really annoys me because supporters work their socks off to go and support the clubs, and they're abused by some of these directors. Really abused. And I think it's appalling.
My thing just now is the directors of football at a lot of these clubs, or the sporting directors now, as they seem to have changed their title to, Jason Wilcox at Manchester United, your guy, Graham, who's at Liverpool, the guy who Celtic get rid of, Paul Teasdale, who was a failed manager. Richard Hughes, sorry, that's who's at Liverpool, isn't it, Graham? These guys are becoming in vogue, and they're making more noises than what the manager did, and if Amarin's calling out these guys for whatever he was calling them out for, listen, don't get me wrong, I think Manchester United brought in 2 or 3 decent players, and Bueno, cracking signing. The guy they brought in for Wolves up front, he's flat at times. He's looked decent. He scored a couple of really, really good goals. But short of that, I think you're right, Graham. I think there's questions have to be asked about Manchester United's transfer policy. Certainly Liverpool went out and spent a lot of money, and I'd be very, very surprised if Slot had wanted Isak, and if that's not a Richard Hughes signing as well. And we only need to look at what, as I say, obviously Teasdale or Tisdale or whatever it is they did at Celtic. So it's these guys who are making the arses at the club. Then it's not necessarily the board of directors.
But the directors can't appoint them. The directors appoint them. That's the whole issue.
Yeah, so they're making that appointment for a guy to run their club. So you're saying there's maybe a lot of guys here aren't football people. The folk that they're appointing are supposed to be football people, and they're cocking it up big style. I mean, wait a minute. Great player, obviously won a Premier League title with Blackburn. A really, really decent player. Richard Hughes, Portsmouth, not necessarily a great pedigree as a football player. So what have these guys done? And again, the guy at Celtic, what have they done to merit being a director of football? Because that is a position there where you need to know the game. And Tisdale, lower league manager down south, Exeter City, 2 or 3 other clubs. I don't think anywhere longer than Exeter he lasted any longer than 6 to 8 months. So his career as a director of football has obviously followed the same line as what it was as a manager. You know, Richard Hughes.
That's not to say, Cammy, that some of these guys are no good, though. Some of these guys are good. That's why the standard of the game in certain clubs is very good. And you look at it as Hearts, that's a prime example of success, right? But there seems to be an element, and it works as well when agents are presenting themselves at clubs with players that are not fit for purpose. No question of doubt about it. So your board of directors, you're not telling me don't have an input when somebody's going to spend, say, £8 million in a centre forward that's no scored for 2 years. That board of directors, surely if you're in that board of directors, you've got to stop the bus for a minute. £8 million, this guy's no scored a goal for 2 years. What do you think? Yeah, you think there's stuffing hanging out my head? I'm going to spend £8 million on somebody like that. Now, who's done that? Nobody. They signed him. Now, he's coming okay, but okay is no good enough when you look at the teams that he's playing against. So you say to yourself, who in that boardroom has appointed these guys and allowed them to actually spend that type of money? No, just identified Rangers, but it's riddled with other clubs doing the same. And that's the point I'm trying to make is, what capabilities do these directors at football clubs have that is going to contribute to the club being successful? And that's the fear factor I've got. How much emphasis do you put on a director of sport being the one guy, apparently, who gets hung out to dry when bad signings are made, along with the manager? And that's the problem I've got. It's your appointments that are the major issue, and it's the directors that have made the appointments. And they need to work an awful lot harder to get our game right.
Yeah.
And that needs to start now, because if you keep appointing sporting directors, Ross Wilson at Rangers, I knew we Roscoe, nice wee guy. He was John Hughes' driver at Falkirk. That's how he started, a driver. He never kicked a ball in his life. Seriously. He turned up at the door one day and says to Yogi, I'll drive you about if you like. And for there, he escalates up. And then you've got him at Rangers identifying players that could come in and play in the Premier League. Are you having a laugh?
Where he started. He was Bobby Robson's driver, so that's where he started as well.
Well, there's a difference.
These taxi drivers know a lot more than what we do. You know what I mean? So there we are.
Anyway, that's just my rant on the club's been run.
Aye. So Solskjaer's interim manager potentially, Graham, for Manchester United. Do you not think they could maybe move for Maresca?
Well, I think he plays the kind of football Man United want, and I think it probably would make more sense. I mean, he's a better manager than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I mean, listen, I don't think Solskjaer's a bad guy. He's a decent guy, obviously a legend at Man United, but they paid 10 million. They paid 10 million to get him off in the first place, and then they're bringing him back when he failed. I just think it doesn't make any sense to me. Fair enough, bring Darren Fletcher in for the next couple of games, but I just think to bring back a guy that failed in the first place makes no sense. And I do think I heard somebody say, oh, maybe Amarin going and Maresca getting sacked. Maybe there is something to that.
That's what I was thinking. That was my thoughts.
Yeah, I think he's a decent manager, and he would want he'll play the way that Man United want to play. But again, this thing that really annoys me as well is this thing about, like, I've seen a couple of folk mention this now about the Man United DNA. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. What is the Man United DNA? I said this previously to somebody else. All fans want is a winning team. There is no such thing as a Man United DNA. It's absolute nonsense to me.
Play the Celtic way or whatever else. Yeah, totally get that. To me, all you want to do is play winning football. You know, that's it. Irrespective of, you know, okay, you want to be entertained on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, but ultimately you want your side to win. Now, if that's playing a defensive style of football, if it's playing an open, expansive style of football, all you want is results on a Saturday, you know, and be sitting top of the league or as close to the top of the league as you can. Pure Graham. If you were getting entertained I know you weren't, but if last year you were getting entertained as a Hearts fan, but you were losing every game 4-3, I'm quite sure you'd rather be winning every game this season 1-0. You know, at the end of the day,
Honestly,
all
if you heard me last, I wasn't happy about the second half. But you know what? Like I said, when I thought about it, I thought actually we won, so it doesn't really matter.
That's it. Exactly. You know, that's it precisely. Right, just one final point before we go. Question for yourself, Graham, again for Shug Toner, and thanks very much to Shug and a few of the other guys who have put questions in the chat. We've got 3 or 4 bots there, so I'm not going to post their comments up because we're a family podcast and we could end up getting taken off the air. And a few of them I'm too naive to understand what the freaking hell they mean. So we'll just stick with that one.
I thought weeks ago Kilmarnock, and I probably still think it's a possibility. I do think Xander Clark to move because he's not going to get a game, and I do like Xander Clark. He's a very good goalkeeper, but I think it does make sense he does leave, and I kind of do have a feeling for Kilmarnock.
Yeah, indeed. Dennis, your thoughts? Xander Clark leave Tynecastle and moving on, you know, and as Graham says, it's a shame he's a really good keeper, but they've got a couple of keepers there at Hearts as well already, so he's almost surplus.
Again, I know it's surplus to requirements in a lot of ways, and the goalkeepers have got to have games, but see, if you have a vision as a goalkeeper and you can be a bit patient, your time normally comes, and he's a good goalkeeper. I would hate for him to leave Hearts when there's potentially the opportunities that something might happen to your goalkeepers. You've just got to hang in there, I think. If he wants to move, fine. That's everybody's prerogative, right? But I think with Hearts sitting there looking at potentially winning the league, if they were sitting, say, where maybe some were, then you'd say, no question of doubt. But when you're potentially looking there at, say, maybe Gordon picks up a knock, something else happens and you're in before you, because that happens. Friday night, Saturday, goalkeeper can be changed. So I look at it and I go, wait a minute, bite the bullet. I'll get a move in the summer, but I might be sitting here with potentially a club that's going to win the Premier League. That's how I'd be viewing it, rather than saying I want a game every Saturday with a team that could maybe get relegated.
Yeah.
Can I just say one more thing as well? I didn't say this before, but I honestly think, and I might be wrong about this, but I think Neil McCann at Kilmarnock is a massive, massive risk. He's a very good player, fantastic pundit, but his reckon at managerial has not been great. I think it is a huge, huge risk.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you. He didn't succeed at Dundee. In fact, it didn't last any length of time. And you're right, in the background to him is good, but sometimes don't get your ambitions mixed up with your ability. And that's how I would feel with him. He'll have a go at it, but I don't think he's the right fit for Kilmarnock. I honestly don't.
I know too.
I hope he did. But at the same time, that's Kilmarnock's issue.
Yeah. I know a couple of fans who thought he was a wee bit unlucky that they actually played some decent football under him, but didn't get results, and they were a wee bit unfortunate, you know. But I would agree. I think it is a bit of a risk to go from an experienced manager who, let's be fair, things weren't running for Kettlewell at all. Christ, start of the season, they're going, oh, he's done well, he's got Kilmarnock top 6. Now they're sitting in the bottom 2 or 3. And just results have gone really, really badly. So I think that the change there was inevitable. I think that's Kettlewell done, certainly in the Premier League. If he's going to do something again, I think he's going to have to rebuild his career, you know, whether that's going to be at Ross County, whether it's going to be somewhere else. County would be the obvious answer, but you wait and see what happens with that one. Well, guys, that's the first podcast of 2026 done. Under an hour, no bad for us. Well done. As I say, if you're listening to tonight, you've liked what you've heard, go ahead, like, subscribe, tell your pals, get the budgie, get the granny, get your cat and whatever else, get as many subscriptions as possible. It does help us out. It really helps us out in terms of the algorithm and things like that as well. Well done, Ross County. Thanks for that, Jamie.
Cheers, Jamie.
Well, that's where Kettlewell is. Kettlewell's doing well so far.
If he's going to get things around, up at Ross County, turning things around. So that's it. County up and 2-0 up within the first 10 minutes. But then again, were the same last week at Firhill, and Thistle came back and won 3-2. So, yeah, Ross County 2-0 up on Thistle, but that might not stay as it is. Anyway, guys, Thanks very much. As we say, Happy New Year. It's been a cracking podcast tonight. So much to talk about. Go ahead, as we say, like, subscribe, because as always, everything is happening on the pitch. Good night.